Welcome to Down the River Podcast. My name is Landon,
And this is Brent.
and today we are with the Northeast Indiana Innovation Center with Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Great.
If you just want to give us a little, a brief introduction about what you guys do here.
I'll premise
Oh.
this one a little bit. So this is a little bit different than our other podcasts. This is what I've been pushing for. The Nick is actually an entrepreneurship, promoter in the area. They're across the street from IPFW, and Mike is their entrepreneur in residence. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
All right. So yeah, now you can give a little bit about yourself. So, how did you get into be an entrepreneur at residence? What's that?
When you say a little bit about myself, how long do you want me to talk?
Well, I mean,
Because hey, so I guess I started with the Nick back in 2000. So it's been 18 years ago, back when the Innovation Center started, and it got started because a bunch of city leaders, the chamber, city, county people wanted to create something that would help business leaders, right? And help people start businesses. And there wasn't anything around here at that time. So they formed a board. And at about that time, I was down at the chamber and was meeting with a guy named Dr. Mike Miro. And Mike was also on the board of this thing called the 21st Century Fund down in Indianapolis to give grants to people. And I was interested in getting money for my company and to start a company. So I met with Mike, and after we got done with the meeting, he goes, you should be a part of this thing we're starting called the NIC, the Innovation Center. And that was it. That's how I got involved as Dr. Miro, who was the founding board chair of the Innovation Center way back when. And he was the driving force for making it happen. And then, one of the first things we did was hire Carl LePan. Went through an interview process, and I was part of the board to elect Carl. And then they started back in an old factory warehouse over by Costco now, and it was owned by Magnavox back then. But for 5 years, they were in that old warehouse, getting companies and starting operation. In the meantime, they're also raising money to build where they are. So my involvement at that point was, after about a year, I ended up getting that money that I wrote the grant for. And so we created this company called Zoom Information Systems, right? So I started it in the NIC, and so I was one of the clients here, one of the first clients, and it was great. They offered me a lot of services, and I when they built the new buildings here on the land now across from IPFW, these 55 acres, we moved Zoom over here, and we moved into the second building then when we expanded. And so I was still on the board of directors at NIC at that time, and I was also spending most of my time building Zoom and working on a lot of different things that related nothing to the Innovation Center. So I was, like a traditional entrepreneur, very focused in my company. And it was a typical, if there is a typical scenario for an entrepreneur, which means it's not just, Zoom to the top or Zoom to the bottom. One week, 1 month, you're doing great. The next month, oh my gosh, where's the business coming from? How are we going to pay everybody? How am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Things are looking bad. Next month, things are looking great. So, and that was a typical thing for Zoom. So I'll fast forward. Okay, I'm giving you the kind of short version here. There's a lot of things in the middle, but my background was basically leading software companies. So for 30 years, I led software companies and helped them develop some really cool things. So about 5 years ago, Carl came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in being the entrepreneur in residence here. And by entrepreneur in residence, he means the person that coaches these companies and helps them get from wherever they are to wherever they want to go. So, you know what? That was an awesome invite for me because I really wanted to do that, and I really liked helping entrepreneurs. And I mostly came from a status of here's what you don't do, because I learned of almost everything not to do. And so 5 years ago, I joined the Innovation Center as an entrepreneur in residence, and let my partner run Zoom, and that company still exists. But now I'm helping the Innovation Center grow and also helping all the companies in here grow.
There you go, the long, short version of that. And that's great to hear that you went from the beginning all the way of the NIC to where you're at now, and that how you learned starting Zoom, filing for the grants, receiving the grants, running the business, and now you can do that and coach the new guys starting. So I guess what's your best advice for somebody thinking about starting a business right now then?
So I meet with people all the time, right, that come into our offices, and sometimes they've already been going, sometimes they've been going for years and are pretty successful. They just need to figure out how to get from one plateau to the next. But typically, it's somebody who just has an idea, right, and wants to start a company. They also typically say, okay, I've got this idea, but I don't have any money, so what do I do next, right? So a lot of times, I used to just kind of help people with the idea, but the more I went, the more I helped people and saw them, the more that I really wanted to start off by telling them and letting them know what they were getting into. What this whole entrepreneurship thing's about, because I think a lot of people have this glorified image of entrepreneurship as a field. It's the Shark Tank thing, that you got an idea, you present it to somebody, they say, great, here's $1 million. Then you go build it, you sell it, and you're an instant success, right?
The fast cars,
That's,
the big house.
yeah, and it really is the image that a lot of people have about entrepreneurship. And so a lot of times when I first meet with people, the things that I pay attention and make sure I let them know is, first of all, I let them talk about, why are you here? What's your idea? What do you want to do? But I also make sure I tell them, okay, here's what you're getting into. And it's almost like I'm trying to talk them out of it, but I'm really trying to just give them, here's what reality is. And because a lot of people, I say, what are your motivations? And a lot of times it's, I want to be my own boss. I want to be able to take vacation whenever I want. I want to be able to make a lot of money, right? So, and I ask people, why are you doing this? And so, and I say, the reality is that instead of one boss, now you have 100 bosses, because you have all these employees maybe at some point, you have all these customers, you have the government, you have all these that you have to keep happy, and you've got all these things that are pressing on you. So, and you don't have, you do have 365 days of vacation a year, but you can never take any because you're too busy, and you're working all the time, and it's a very draining thing. And if you have a family, you're just not you can't go home and just leave your job at home. And money, the statistics show that 50% of entrepreneurs, the ones that have been in a business, and once they get out, their average rate of pay is $5 an hour. So if you think you're going to make a lot of money, half of them, that's what they make. Another 20% make $7.25 an hour. So it's only the top 2% that really make it. Okay, we made a lot of money, this was great. So your odds of making it aren't very big. So why is anybody doing this? So I spend the first amount of time just saying, okay, why would you do this? And you eventually get down to the point that if you really want to start a company, you got to do it in an area that you're passionate about, and you got to do it in an area you like to work in, because otherwise, if times go bad, and they will, they'll be bad, they'll be good, then they'll be bad again, like I said. But if you don't like working in that area and you don't like what you're doing, you'll just quit. And to be an entrepreneur, you have to have passion with what you're doing, but you also have to have perseverance. So, really, when I meet with people the first time, that's a lot about what I talk about. And I think people can identify with that, and you quickly kind of find out if this is something they really want to pursue or not.
Yeah, and I really like that idea of the reality check at the door. I mean, if you don't have a family that's willing to go through this with you, you're going to quit partway through it. So then, what are some of the services that Nick provides? I know it's an application process to get in here. What does that look like?
Well, when you first come in, a lot of times, like I said, people just come in with an idea. And, there's a process by which we really see whether you're ready to be a resident client, because we have 30 or so companies that are resident in the NIC. You can get an office here, right? And if you get an office here, we help you with your business, and we're with you side by side to grow your business, whether it's a period of 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. But really, the application process, if you can call it an application process, is it starts with you walking in the door. And for many people, that's the hardest part. And I want to just emphasize the word start, because many people think that, I got to come up with a perfect idea. I got to come up with that idea that, well, nobody else has thought of, and all of this kind of stuff. And so most people never start because they think, oh, well, this is an idea, but I don't know if it's going to work. And so I got to think about it some more. I got to plan some more. The reality is, we teach people to start, and in the process of starting, figure out how fast and how, with the least amount of money, that you can figure out if this is an idea that not only somebody wants and is going to pay money for, but you can make it for a reasonable amount of money, you can sell it, and all those kind of things. So really, our process for people is not, okay, that idea is not ready yet, you don't fit, but we start working with them right away to advance from it's an idea to, will this idea work? Let's prove it, let's do. And first of all, we also give people tests to say, are your strengths what it takes to be an entrepreneur? And if you have certain areas where you don't have the kind of strengths where it really takes, then maybe you should think about getting a partner, or getting maybe an executive board or an advisory board that can help you be more successful. So we really kind of start at the beginning. So you don't have to have, to answer your question, you don't have to have, okay, I've got $10,000 in the bank, I've taken this idea and proved it, because we help you get to that stage. And obviously, you're not going to sign to paperwork to get an office in here, if you're not at the stage where you're pretty confident that it's going to work, or you've already proven that. And that's what we try to do to get you to that point. So we also work with people on what we call an affiliate basis, which is, you don't need an office, you're not ready for an office, maybe you never need an office in here. You just need help getting from one standpoint to the next. So there's a lot of different ways that we'll work with people to get them in here.
So where can people find more information about that?
Well, obviously, we have a website, and it's nic.net, NIIC.net. And on that is a way to contact us. Honestly, I think the best way is, you call the NIC or contact us through our website and say, hey, I need to talk to you. I want to do something. And you come in and we just have a talk. And that's typically the best way to do it, because then we can really see, where you are, what you need, and how we can help connect you. Because the statistics show that the number one determiner of success for entrepreneurs is their connections, or are their connections. And so a lot of what we do too is also connect people to resources, connect them to other companies, connect them to mentors, connect them to financing, connect them to all these things. But, we look for, and a lot of what I do is say, you know what, I know a guy who's done this, or I know a woman who's created a company or something close to what you're going to do. Why don't I see if you might want to connect and talk? Because, we don't know everything. I don't know everything. We've started companies in areas that I have no clue on. And my wife says, my number one strength is that I act like I know everything. And yes, I do. But I don't really. I know it's probably hard for you to imagine. But we really do try to connect people to resources and try to get them started as soon as they can.
It almost seems kind of foolproof to start a business, because you provide the mentors, you provide the resources, the connections and everything. So like you said, it just seems like that passion is the thing that people, the passion or what's the word? Yeah, like the drive to make the jump to get in, because like you said, is
there's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth, right? Mm-hmm. And she defined that the two things you really need is passion and perseverance, as I said. And I always thought that for a while. But really, as I've talked to people, I've met a lot of people who have a lot of passion for it, and they keep going, but they never get anywhere. So I've added a third P, being push. And I think, you have to be able to push things all the time. You can't expect as an entrepreneur that things are just going to happen. A lot of people just think, okay, I submitted this business plan over here, and, nothing happened. Nobody's getting back to me. Or, can you just help? They expect that, the Innovation Center or any other entrepreneurial service provider or a university is going to really do it for them. And, you have to be, as an entrepreneur, the one that pushes. You have to be the one that really does it, because you have the vision, you have the passion about what you're doing, and nobody else is going to have that. So really, that push is something we really added. And I think that as the Innovation Center, one of the things that makes us different than everyone else is that we really help you get that push, to say, okay, here's the direction you should go. And we're beside you for, could be years. I mean, could be 10 years, because some of these products, if it's like a medical-based product that needs FDA approval, we've had companies in here 12 years, raising over $10 million and more venture capital to get out. So, it can be a long time, but we work side by side with these companies to help them get there, but we don't do it, right? We don't do it for them, but we're here to show you the way.
What's one of the most common questions you get asked for the individuals that are coming in and they have an idea about starting a business? What's that one question that you I mean, you can sum up all the questions, but you give them the same answer every time. What's that one question that they're all asking?
So that's pretty easy. A lot of people come in and say, hey, I got this idea, and the first question is, can I get a grant? I mean, because there's kind of a misconception that there's just people out there willing to give you money, or that there's grants, that the government has grants for everything, right? And that you just have to come up with an idea, and people will give you money for it. The reality is there aren't that many grants out there. There are some. We help people and have helped people get grants, but it's very, very selective and very few. And so you have to fit the idea to how you can get funded. And, my getting an investor is kind of the last thing on my list of ways to get money. because once you get an investor, you've got somebody that's really pushing you and says, hey, when am I getting my money back? So you want to look at ways to get it. But that's, usually those questions, they jump right to money. How can I get money? How can I get money? When what we really try to do is steer them more towards, let's prove that this thing works. Because nobody's going to give you money based on an idea. Nobody. I mean, an idea is worth $1. The best idea in the whole world might be worth $10. It's all about the execution. It's all about, can you make it happen? You can take a really bad idea, and through our process of figuring out, is it something somebody wants, we very quickly say, you know what, this isn't going to work. But people said they really think that this is a problem. So you modify your idea, and then you modify it again. You modify, and eventually you get to the thing that is the idea. And that's how we build companies from the start.
I mean, I have that's kind of what we've been doing too. We've been interviewing a lot of different businesses, and we found that there's successful businesses that don't take I guess investors or loans or whatever.
Well, yeah, a lot of them try and self-fund first, and then go to investments later. Obviously, Hop River, when we were talking to those guys, they had a certain investment cap that they wanted to hit, and the rest of it they tried and self-funded. Who else was it? Kiki Anga.
They were completely self-funded,
debt-free at this point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool, and I know, speaking for myself, that's one of the biggest detractors of starting a business, is you think, where do I get the money? How can I do this? It's a scary thing.
Well, the Innovation Center, first of all, is an investor in Hop River. We do have an investment funds that we can invest in. We really like those guys.
Those guys are great.
So we invested in them, and we've invested in some other companies that are really being successful. So we can and we do invest in companies that are right for us. But we also, most of the time, just connect them up to other resources. And the real thing that I work on and other business coaches here at the Innovation Center is, how can you, for the least amount of money, really prove yourself, prove that it's not only what people want, but that prove that you can make it happen. Because that's, if you need investment, the investors, a lot of time they invest in you. That's the biggest thing they look at is, can you make it happen? Yeah, your idea is great, but there's a million people with ideas, and do you have what it takes? And if you don't, can you bring in another person on your team or some advisors that can help you with it?
Well, and that's a good point. A lot of the people, I don't think there's anybody we have interviewed so far who's not a partnership of some kind.
Yeah, they've all been partnerships so far.
So I guess, have you seen people come through as like a sole proprietorship versus partnerships versus other things like that, and their success rates? Is it? I feel like a partnership, you keep yourself more accountable. I know sometimes without Landon pestering me, I wouldn't do things.
Yeah,
that's true. And if you're just a solopreneur, it's a lot easier to do something if you're doing something small, or if it's let's say a consulting company, and it's not that people can't do it. It's just that once you start to grow, there's just a lot of other kind of things you need to do that require a lot of strengths and resources that it's almost impossible for one person to have. So it is very true that if you have more than one person and or an advisory board, it's almost required as you get larger.
Yeah, and that's, definitely the accountability part for that. Do you have anything else you wanted to add?
I don't know if you've kind of mentor this. I've been doing a lot of research on building brands and building businesses, and with social media and the new age and everything. And a lot of the stuff will lead back to it's called list making, where you create your day-to-day like list and you want to knock out those things before you go to bed at night. Do you feel like something like that for somebody that is trying to start a business would create a daily list of stuff that they need to get done? Like for me, I've started to do it, and it's like, it's very basic. It's go to the gym, make 3 meals a day. Just it's simple stuff, but I'm slowly working my way into. Now I'm at the point where I'm make sure you post on Instagram for the podcast. Make sure you do this. Do you feel like something like that could benefit long term to keep going to create those habits, those good habits?
A lot of people do that, and it's really whatever works for you to organize your life and to make sure, because as an entrepreneur, one of the biggest things is prioritization. So it's not like, okay, I'm going to do this first, do this, then do this, then do this. You know, that list never gets done linearly.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is then something else comes up, and you have to decide, okay, what's the most important things? What's the highest priority? So the biggest skill is not just having a list, but the ability to constantly prioritize and reroute your list, right, and reorganize it to make sure you get the most important things done. And you're right when you say, from an accountability standpoint, a lot of people tell me that I'm their accountability partner, you know, when we coach, because it's so easy. People are so busy that it's just so easy to continually work in the business and not on the business, right? And so that's a lot of times what we do with people is just say, okay, we're thinking big term here. You know, you're doing this and you're doing a good job, but you also now want to work on this and this and this as you grow.
You know, I have anything? That was a good answer. Do you have any
No, I mean,
other questions based on the Nick?
no, I mean, I remember working here. It was, and seeing all the people who, you know, were starting various businesses at the time. It was always a cool experience. Until I worked here, I never knew it existed. And once I knew it existed, I try and plug it every time I get, or every chance I get, to people I know who are thinking about starting a business. So if anybody's listening and they're thinking about starting a business, you know, your idea is only worth $1
Yeah.
until you can prove it out. But,
You know, we get a lot of referrals, and that's that people have either worked through there or know us. So I would encourage that for people. You know, just tell them to come here, and it's there's a fear factor, you know, that a lot of people have, and about 3 years ago we created, based on a proposal that we wrote to the Small Business Administration, created the Women's Economic Opportunity Center, which to help underserved entrepreneurs, which there's a lot of people that don't walk in this door that that should, and women were one of them, immigrants, minorities, veterans. Those are all underserved groups because, and for different reasons. But so we created the Women's Economic Opportunity Center, and I'm just really happily surprised at how many underserved entrepreneurs we've been seeing. And it's because I think by focusing on specifically on what's it going to take to make that group succeed, that you lower the barrier of fear for somebody walking in here, and we're really going to increase that in the future. Our focus on underserved entrepreneurs.
I mean, it really it's motivational and almost inspirational just from walking in. It honestly is, because like I didn't know about it until Brent mentioned about it and told me a little bit about it, and then it was like, okay, cool, like this is what they do. But you guys actually have to come in here and like see what they do, because it just changed my outlook of what the Nick actually does by just walking in the door and seeing these businesses and seeing the people that work here. And I mean, it is a really cool place.
yeah, it's not, when you walk in the front door, you get the feeling it's not just office space. I mean, the way it's decorated, it's laid out, it really feels like entrepreneurship's king here.
You know, and you think about the concept of co-working. You know, there are co-working places in Fort Wayne, but we have a little different view of co-working. Co-working to us is not, sitting at a desk in the middle of a room, with your earbuds on, working on a laptop. Our view of co-working is to get companies and people to work together, right? And we do that in an awesome way here by getting the companies, and sometimes I get them to come together. Sometimes, most of the time, they naturally do it. There's a software company here that works with a bio company over there, and they create business, they create products that they couldn't have had in the future or couldn't have done by themselves. And even, we have a student venture lab here where we give high school and college students the opportunity to, if they have an idea, to get free coaching, free office space, and even investment money from us that they don't have to pay back. That is a true investment in their company. But they create some awesome products, and they work with the companies in here to a pretty large extent. And I'm really happy that our brand of co-working is really working to grow jobs and grow companies in Fort Wayne and Allen County and all through Northeast Indiana, because that's really why we were created, economic development, to create more jobs, more people, and more higher wage jobs for people.
Very cool. So if anybody's interested, it's the NIIC.net is the website. Are you guys on any social media? Do you do any events?
We're all over on social media since we have a person now that's in charge of that and doing that. So we do have Facebook page and other things on social media. So you can always Google us and you'll find us. We do have an annual event that is coming up in mid-April. That's called our Ideas at Work event, and this year I'm really happy that Angie Hicks is going to be our speaker. And Angie Hicks is the founder of Angie's List from Indianapolis, and I don't know if very many people know that, but she's originally from Fort Wayne. And so if you go on our website, you'll find out information about that. You can get a ticket. If you really want to, you can sponsor a table or more. So look it up.
Yeah, definitely check that out, because I saw quite a few events on there. One I looked at was actually free to go to at Ivy Tech. So yeah, they have a lot of events in there, so you definitely check them out. We'll definitely have the link to their website on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So if you follow us on one and not the other, you're all getting the same treatment. So yeah, definitely check out the Nick.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for your time. It's been interesting.
Well, you're welcome. And if you guys ever want to start a business or you need help making this podcast go, just let me know. I'll be happy to help.
Yeah,
awesome.
Very cool. I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Hey guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. I hope you really, really loved it. You guys know we are trying to bring our best to the podcast. So whether you are walking your dog, traveling to or from work, or just cleaning the house, I hope this brought just a little bit of value to your day. Since we are new, it would be greatly appreciated if you could share this or just tell a friend about us. Thank you guys.